Hello and welcome to the first of a series of videos that will explain what the Fractal Suite for Bloomberg terminal is and how you can use it to improve your trading. To begin with, I have placed a chart of the WTI crude futures contract for October 2014 on the Bloomberg terminal. As you can see here by the legend, there is no other indicators that have been added to this chart. What we're going to do to begin with is to explain to you what the Fractal Suite is. The Fractal Suite is a combination of different indicators that use predictive technology that allows you to forecast price movement into the future and then analyze that prediction and price movement using fractal statistics. And to define fractal statistics, essentially what we mean by that is we are taking a measurement that is non-Euclidean. That is, we're measuring between, say, a 1 and a 2. So we're actually taking a look at the various changes in price and we're assigning it a dimensional value. So think of it as a square, for example, a chart even, with a series of price plots on that chart, and we can assign this particular price plot an actual dimension based on the amount of space that it's occupying within this square chart. So combining that information with a prediction, which is using in some cases some of that same type of analysis, we have the ability to create some very good forecasts and trades that we can use to improve our standard trading techniques. So to begin with, let me show you how to activate the Fractal Suite. You can see here that I already have placed it under my security study column, and I'm going to check mark it, which now has activated the suite itself. However, none of the indicators in the suite or the predictors have been turned on, so to speak. You can see here in the legend that all of the various indicators that are included have a NA or not applicable next to them. Now this will change as we activate the various different indicators. So as it stands right now, nothing is really on, but the suite is active. So this is the first step in using it. The next step, which is critical and unfortunately is not something that can be automated, is the amount of points per tick category. Now this is an input that is tied directly to the scaling of the indicators in the suite. It's very important that this amount of points per tick matches the minimum tick movement for the market that you're trading. So in this case, because we're trading crude, we know that the minimum tick value is going to be 0.01. So we enter that in, update, and now we know that one of the most important key inputs is and has been entered into the suite. So I go back just to double check. Amount of points per tick, 0.01. Okay, excellent. So next, we are going to plot a prediction or a predictor on the chart. Being that the core essence of the program is the predictive element, and also the fact that the ancillary oscillators and also indicators operate around those predictors, I think that it would be best to show you that how the predictors work and exactly how you can place them on the chart. So let's start with the predicted close. Well, first, why don't we start with the forecasting algorithm? So let's select a predictor. The default here of the three predictors that are included in the suite is the fractal regression. Now each of these different predictors has different algorithms built inside of it that are used to make their forecasts. Just without going into too much technical detail, I'll give you a quick overview on each one of these. Number one is the linear regression predictor. This is a fairly standard form of forecasting. It uses linear regression, which is something that probably you've heard of before. Number two is fractal regression, which uses a nonlinear formula a nonlinear regression formula for looking at previous data and taking that data and then projecting it out into the future, and also using a form of fractal analysis as a filter would be the best way to describe it. Number three is the fractlet, which derives its name from wavelets, but we're using fractals instead of wavelets, which is a mathematical construct. And the fractlet is probably the most powerful predictor of the three, although different market conditions and volatility are going to change that from time to time. But most likely you'll find that the fractlet predictor is your most powerful predictor. And it uses all of the data on the chart, and it uses also a form of k nearest neighbor algorithms in addition to fractal statistics and a few other different types of algorithms in combination to make a forecast into the future. So for the sake of keeping it as simple as possible for right now, I'm going to use the default number 2 fractal regression as our predictor. Before we actually plot the predictor, however, I would like to show you two other inputs that affect the way the predictor operates. Those two inputs are data lookback for prediction and prediction horizon. What the data lookback for prediction is doing is it is limiting the minimum amount of data that is being used for a forecast. It's not allowing that to be the maximum, but it is allowing it to be the minimum. So in other words, we have this set at a default of 5. So we're going to be looking at a minimum of 5 data points previous to the current last traded price in order to make that forecast. We may look at more, but we won't look at any less than 5. If we change this number to a larger number, for instance, let's say 20 different data points, what we're doing is we're actually limiting the level that the predictor will minimize at. So the usefulness in that is that you can, in a sense, take a 10-minute bar chart, and by setting a minimum level of, say, 20 different bars, you're actually allowing the forecast to operate in a manner that is predicting a higher time frame. So to begin with, I would just recommend leaving it at the default of 5. It generally works across the board, and you can start to experiment with it as you become more familiar with the Fractal Suite. The prediction horizon is how many points ahead in the future you are trying to predict. So the default is 0, which means that as soon as the open of the new bar appears on that chart, then the predictor, if we're using a predicted close, for example, will predict what the close will be of that immediate bar. If we were to change this to 1, 2, or 3, then we would add 1 bar in front of that immediate bar. If it were 1, for example, if it were 2, we would add 2 bars ahead of that immediate bar. So this is how you can actually forecast several steps ahead into the future. Bear in mind that if you do move further ahead into the future based on the predictive algorithms, you're going to have exponential loss, meaning that the prediction itself will degrade rapidly. So as a recommendation, I would suggest changing to a higher time frame and using a lower prediction horizon. And as a matter of thumb, I would say I would never go over 3 as just a general rule, unless there's something you're experimenting with. Now that we've explained the inputs related to the predictive algorithms, it's an easy matter to plot them on the chart. We simply scroll down here to the various checkboxes that allow you to plot the different indicators in the Fractal Suite, and we find the predictors. We have plot open predictor, plot high predictor, plot low predictor, plot close predictor. So I'm interested in the close, so I'm going to simply check the box, update, and we will see the predicted close plot, and here we have it. So we can zoom in on this. I realize that there are other ways to zoom in on the chart, but use whichever method is comfortable to you. And there we see we have a predicted close. So we can change these different types of predictions very easily by just turning off one and turning on another. So maybe we want to add the predicted high and the predicted low. So we update again, and here we have them based on the fractal regression. Now, when you have the legend activated on the chart, you will be able to see these specific numbers that are being forecasted. So in this case, the predicted high is 91.55 and the predicted low is 91.64. This is probably a bad example because we only have one price point on this chart at this immediate moment in time, but we can also look at maybe some of the previous bars and see the numbers which are more accurate, more sensible. We have the predicted high here, you see, is at 91.78 and the predicted low at 91.49. So this is one simple way to begin with the Fractal Suite, and it's also a nice way to become familiar with one of the key components of how it works. So I'm going to end this video on the predictor note, and we will begin to explore other features of the Fractal Suite in the next video. Thank you.